Yeah, she is here. Hi everybody and welcome back. This is a brand new arrival on my desk. Is the NUNU Platz M4 GT3, and it's a very pleasure new because I was surely thinking when they announced this vehicle that we should wait like for the Porsche. They made previously the Porsche based on the 991, neither the 992 that is already active since I think 6 or 7 years. Of the Porsche Pink Peak, the Le Mans Racer RSR version, and we had to wait nearly I think 7 to 8 years before that model arrived on my hands, and I also was not so willing to buy it immediately because I previously made the Slot Fabric, the model from Follow Ozu, about the Pink Pig, but it was a carbon fiber body based on I think he placed it under a GT3 from Fujimi. So I was absolutely waiting some other years before this model arrived. Indeed, this model was announced on May 2025, and in the end of May I got it in Italy. Even if the Italian market nowadays is a little bit slower in getting this type of news, but sometimes there are some dealers that are really willing to have the stuff, to have the special item from themselves without waiting any local distributor. Nowadays for a modeling shop is really hard life because you cannot rely any longer on local distributors, so it's basically up to you with all the problem that a commercial activity has. If you look closely at this box, you see that there is no import tag, so this has been something that had been bought privately by somebody and resold in this way, so there is no European tag for the importation. So this model doesn't come from an official importation. This comes from somebody that took it directly for himself and sell it directly. Also, I was quite surprised because the buying price of this model was extremely competitive. I think I paid something in the area of between $50 to $60, so it was not so expensive at all, and it was an European distribution, so we didn't have the tool, the conversion and the taxation that usually you have when you buy items coming from Asia and Japan. The model is extremely loved. I've seen this car several times in competition in Monza, and she was brutal. She is brutal because this car that maybe really can look ugly in the front end. In the beginning also I didn't like it at all, these big kidneys they made in the modern BMW. I think it was a Photoshop joke, but then they did. I'm still used to the BMW arriving at this level of the front kidneys. And indeed the model is the car in reality is one of the most powerful car of the lot. It's impressive to see a BMW like this overpassing brutally Porsches and Ferrari, and it's not only for the skill of the pilot or the type of preparation made by the team, so it's really because the motor is one of the most powerful ever. They already did the M6, the M8 and the M4 now, that they are really the animals, the brutal animals of the Lotto. So this is absolutely then in a collection I should have. I also love it particularly, if you follow my videos, that this car have a resembling livery for the German flag. As you can see, yellow, red and black. So I like it a lot, this very heavy kind of combo color over the car. Some people may not like it, but I personally like it absolutely. And I seen from the report that James made from the Shizuoka city. James has a wonderful channel about modeling review, and very skilled modeler too. And James also spotted that in the NUNU stand in Shizuoka city, Japan, they also presented the version with the Motorsport livery. I don't know if it was the Valkenhost Motorsport, but it's the typical livery of the BMW with the typical color, so azure, blue and red all over the car, over a white base or over a black base, because basically the cars are similar. This is also one of the most powerful and nicest car that you can have in Assetto Corsa Competizione video game. So everybody that is not only liking models but also liking the simulations absolutely will know what are we talking about. Let's see what's inside. Note, on the box they write this, I'm Italian, so this is always something funny, Italian ink printing. Like to say, in Italy we just have one major company making decal, and that is Cartograph. So tell me that's a Cartograph decal without using the Cartograph logo, probably for their agreement or for some other agreements, I don't know, but probably they could not show up like Tamiya does, like several other companies do. also as Agava does, you know, just to show the logo of the cartograph. So Italian flag and Italian ink printing, I am 99% sure. The other one that you have is Fides Incan, but they are amateur. And we had Zanchetti, that was an exceptional maker for the decal, present in Italeri and Ashi kit, and no longer in activity, so just remained the cartograph. So this is nearly surely a cartograph decal sheet inside. Inside of the model you will have a very nice instruction sheet. Interesting that right now it is with pins, so it is not the ordinary flyer that you can open in 3-4 paper in different sides, but it's a real book. Every time I collect them up here, because I love to just open the box and study them. I don't know when I can build up this model. I hope quite soon, because I don't like when the GT cars became quite old, because otherwise after a while I nearly lose the interest. You know, it happened to me exactly in the same way with the Audi R8 even by NUNU Platz. I bought, I think, 2 boxes of her, but I completely lost it. So I have the model there, and I try to add some special decals. I also try to contact the friends from Alpha Model, but because they made a very cool decal livery, and but I was too late, so the decal was already expired. I just discovered it because one of their modeler showed up a finished build with the Audi from NUNU Platz, not the Meng model kit, and it featured this decal of Red Bull all over the car. It was absolutely stunning, you know. The body is absolutely well done. We are constantly in the quality range of all the modern manufacturers, so all the major details are extremely well done. As for example, the front vents on the fenders are completely open, the Nakaduts on the main bonnet is completely open and very sharp in details. Also the lines are engraved. You just need sometimes to engrave it a little more, because quite often it may happen that using primer and the preparation for the decalizing, all the panel lines, if they are too thin, they tend to disappear. This is not like when you build up models of airplanes and so on, that basically you apply a very light thin coat over the model. This usually goes for a primer, a main color, a decal sheet, and usually, even if that I still think is a kind of mistakes, I do it, absolutely also I do it, but finishing in a glossy surface that even more fill it up the line. So if you want to make a little fine detail lining at the end with black color, with something that engraves the panel lines, that gives a lot of realism, in my opinion, to every kind of model. I don't like when models are completely mirror gloss and you see the lines, there is absolutely nothing inside. So there have to be like a pencil design, you know, like an artwork, have to be in little evidence. This is my personal opinion. So the body is absolutely well done. The tires, they are never so exceptional in this kit. I think is a limit of the material, you know. What I don't like is usually that sharp corner they have on the side of the tire. It has to be a little more gentle. It can be sanded, of course, and the wheels is constantly one of my freak. Some people say that I have a fetish for the wheels, and that is absolutely true, because I like them too much. So for me it's a critical point of every kind of model. This is even more when you build up Formula 1 cars. They are so evident, so it's absolutely crucial to make them very well detailed with writings and the direction. You know, sometimes it's a little bit too much, because if you look at the real one, depends, because recently I've seen, I think, a race in Monza about this car, and during the tire change, now they have some strange rules. For example, in Monza, when they have to do the stop during the yellow flag, some of them don't change the all 4 wheels, but just change the 2 wheels in the left side. This to save wheels and to save the time. How to explain the pit time that they are forced to do during the race. So this is a kind of technique. But during one of these tire change, I was able to spot one of the wheels that they took it off, and with the yellow, I think, pencil or gypsum, they were completely written. There was a lot of, but not technical writing. It was really the mechanic writing, really left side, the 3 laps, 4 laps, really like in the 70s. So it was really, then I don't do so wrong these days when I do my cars. And the rims, some companies already provided the extra rim. I don't know, now there is this fixation about change the rims. I don't think these are so ugly rims, honestly. I mean, Probably everything was coming from the situation we had with the Revel Corvette C7R at the time. You know, it was basically the base that I used for my Callaway G7 GT3, and because probably in that time Revel molded the BBS sprocket trim really quite a nasty way. You know, it was nothing impossible. I mean, we are modelers, so this is not collector item that you just buy and place it on your showcase just to look. You have to place yourself in the building of this stuff. So Jesus, if you are a model, apply for something. So if you have to detail the wheels, it's not this critical option. And honestly, here they didn't do at all a bad job. You see, engraved line, recessed line, the bolt is detailed. You can do better, of course. There is also, look, also a mini spot that is, of course, a little optimistic that way, but it's the point where there is the valve of the tire. So it's not that you send it away, you simply use it for a referring point and you drill it and you place a valve inside. There is also Alpha Model and Hobby Design do the valve for tires. So it's really easy to convert. I don't know if it is worth it. I mean, on a model that is for just looking at your wallet, you know, if a model is worth it, what, 50 bucks, then you have to add another 25, 30 bucks for the wheels. For what? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, if the wheels is wrong, is another matter. If the wheel is missing, is another matter. But if you have decent wheels, and these are decent wheels, everybody have his own convention. So I let it be as you prefer, guys. The front lights molded very nicely and with the very nicely done chrome parts. Always remember that in the real racer, these are not the lights from the ordinary street car. They are completely made just for racing purpose. Also the lamp inside is different, so it's not the lamp of the ordinary M4 that you can buy if you have some money. So this is just race specs items. Also quite nicely that they made it in chrome. That is a nice detail, you know, the side mirror that way, instead of letting you paint it, because it's always a tricky point. You can never have a mirror finish over that, you know, unless you go for photo etched set or metal set, you know. And there is a lot of sprues. You see, they added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sprue for parts. That for a curbside model is absolutely quite a bit, you know. It's in my opinion quite good that in this car they don't feature the engine. Why this? Because the engine in this car is completely different than the ordinary street car, but is also in a position that is deep down inside the cockpit position, is never so much more front end like in the ordinary street car. That is for the balancing of weight during the racer. So every time you have to place a weight, and the motor is in a way the main weight you have in the car, you have to place it in the center of the car, and possibly the lowest possible. The more the engine is up, forward and far away from the barycenter of the car, I hope barycenter is the correct term in English to make you understand what I mean, the car is quite bad performing for racing purposes. And this is the sprue about the front end and the rear end. You see that the car became, they became very wide to be 1/24 scale. Look how large it is. It's large like a Porsche, so I think the dimension is very similar. Here you see the body just partially assembled, but when the car is completely assembled, all the car becomes huge. These are very big cars, so it's a great idea to suggest something like this, so you don't have any conjunction line or mold line on this side of the mold, but you have just the front end. It is exactly like it is on the real car, because if you see like they do maintenance to the car also during the race, it is made to be fast unlocked here. So all the front end of the car used to move away to be quicker to make maintenance under, or mechanical repair under the bonnet. Very good also the cesium that they always had, this Japanese company, sorry, despite it is made in Macau, I think the company is absolutely Japanese. I say so because I had to buy some spare parts from them. I had to buy some wheels because they are nice, as I said before. For the Porsche, I think for a K3 Porsche, and they arrived from Japan, so it was something that was posted, and with a letter of excuses inside, because they understood that it was a missing part. Instead, they wanted to buy the item, as I did, you know, and it was written and coming from Tokyo, so I think the company is absolutely Japanese, despite the production probably for manufacturer cost is based in Macau. So I was saying it's absolutely a very good idea to have different sprues completely closed into plastic. This is a politic that, for example, don't use Revel. Revel is also placing cellophane inside their boxes, but usually it is a main one containing all the others, and this sometimes folders the plastic, and also sometimes have the plastic are in contact between each other, and so it's very easy to have scratch over the parts, big transparent parts like this. It honestly will not be a big issue, because if you look at the rear racer, as I worked too in the Honda racing department on the cars, not on the motorbikes, all the glasses in cars are never glasses like in the ordinary street car. They are made in Lexan. Is a kind of very heavy plastic that don't make the debris in case of crash like an ordinary glass. That's of course for safety reasons. And another interesting detail is this sprue that contains the dashboard, the seat, and the wing. The wing is absolutely common, you know, it's very common and similar to the wings. I made this wing in resin years ago, and it became very nicely done. I think it was coming from the BMW. I don't say BMW, I say BMW, like my German cousin say. How do you say that in German? BMW, so it's BMW. And the shape is anyway the same shape that they had in the BMW Z4 GT3 made from Fujimi, so this never changes so much. I think it's just I was just going to say it's the Porsche, but I'm just making the Alpha model Porsche GT3R, and also the wing in the Porsche is the same, so it's absolutely, probably is a standard part for the category. I have no idea. One interesting part is the seat. Every time we have this type of model, we constantly see that the seat is made in this way that looks quite correct but simple, you know, and that is in my opinion because when they took the picture of the actual car that they mean to reproduce as a model, the car is prepared to be just shown to journalists and to the press. And the point is that nearly always every pilot during races added a lot of sponge, you know, sponge like this material, even softer of course, just to take your own probably S position and S shape inside the seat. So that is probably just the external shell made in carbon fiber for the real seat, that usually is a kind of sponge that every pilot have different, you know. Another sprue is about the interior and the roll cage. Also here absolutely well done. It is exactly like you expect in a model made in 2025. Also the tube frame looks absolutely in the proper dimension of section, you know, and very nicely done without any flash, and it's not bent, you know, because very often this part can bend during the expedition. So another great detail, also the logo, you see M4 written in the inner side of the door. This is a part that usually you cannot see so much when the model is finished, you know, despite some of these racer now have completely white interior, so if you know that there is a detail and you go searching for it, then you find it, but it's not something that usually is coming at the first moment, like a wheel, like the finishing and so on in your first sight, you know. And I could keep on saying and it never ends, you know, the part in this kit, they never, but that is a plus, you know, it's very good. This is the final part of the model, and it's the lower chassis and the lower part made in a crispy plastic. In reality it should be completely in carbon fiber. Then it's up to you to decide if you want to waste an entire decal sheet for carbonizing all the lower part of the model, considering that the model will be in this position, so you just probably see. I usually do in my model, to be honest, that I constantly detail quite well, and as much as I can, make it thinnering the sides, make it completely, sometimes with a little more detail like actuators or springs and so on, just this part of the rear hatch, and nearly never the entire under chassis, because it's a part that I really don't see. Usually I do this and the front end. So if you turn my models under, usually there is the signature, there is something that I personally make, but nothing more, honestly. Also the disc brakes are kind of well done, you know. Usually they should be the self-vented one, I think in carbon fiber, you know, carbon brakes, you know. So that's why I think up to you to decide if you want to go for the photo etch set that the also NUNU Platz made for this model. They probably for with the purpose to keep the price of the final model in a better range. They always divide the photo etched set for somebody that really want an extra detail, but usually this extra detail, this is always, you know, when you look at my video, everything that I say is just my opinion, so it's up to you to decide how to go when you want to go for this model. But when they provide this type of photo etched set, very often the details that I see it is the net side for the helmet inside that is made in photo etched set. I found the same details in the Alpha model Porsche, absolutely well done. Don't say anything against that, but in my reality it is a tissue that on the real car is made in the same tissue of the seat belts. So why not simply make it by your own? Also, it will be much more easy to give the shape and the feeling sensation that is a heavy tissue and a heavy material. With a photo etch set is a little bit tricky because then you have to heat it. I usually use a flame. When you paint is even too much thinner considering the real dimension of that type of safety net that they have around. Now modern pilots have it on the left and on the right side. This is probably to contain the head in case of rollover of the car. You know, they improved a lot the safety of this vehicle. So, but very often, you know, for example, when the pilot exit, they have a kind of plugs that completely lock into the dashboard, where there is usually two big pins arriving to the inner bones and the inner chassis of the car to maintain it completely straight in case of heavy crash, you know. And they usually use to unplug it and take it off, and it lay down exactly like a seatbelt. So it's up to you to decide how to do the detail, but takes a big space on the photo etched set, and sometimes, in my opinion, it's not so worth it to have it. Very often also we see these brakes around the disc made in photo etched, but again, it will be a great detail for a street car when you really have to see the chrome parts. If it is a detail in photo etch set that you have to paint in dark gunmetal, or the carbon detail is a color like that to have an idea, and it's starting to be completely mirror finishing in photo etch, have a meaning, up to you. Plus the pedals made in photo etch set, I don't know honestly, and it is anyway another 30 bucks that you have to add, basically another 30 bucks if not more that you have to add to the price of the final model. So if you find a bargain model that already had everything inside and they set a price for it, go for it. But if you have to buy for it the extra details, I really don't know. Honestly, I think the only detail that I probably will go for this model, when and if ever I will go and have the time to buy it, to build it up, because right now I don't have neither the time to go to toilet, honestly, it can be probably just this exhaust, because those exhausts, if you look the video of the real car, they are made with a kind of tissue protection over, so they are not so clean and sharp like they did it here. This is the correct way when they are brand new from factory, and they are much more covered with this anti-heating tissue, also because this type of exhaust sits there in the car. It's up there. This is the exhaust point of this BMW. So this BMW, the usually, you know, if you remember, also my Corvette and so on, they have the exhaust arriving here, deep down here. It was typical, you know, to have a long line of exhaust. Instead today, the engine is here. This is the line when it cooled down, probably the cooling system over. And this is the final point of the exhaust. And there was a company that made, I don't remember the name of the company right now, so sorry for these guys, but there was a company that already prepared them, and they look quite decent and quite nice like a detail, so you probably will go for it. As you see, it's not so easy to close it properly, the model at the end. There is so many parts that I don't want to do a mess here when I close it back. But what to say more about this model? Nothing more. It's a fantastic kit, and thanks God it arrived quite quickly on the market. I was really not expecting. As I said, just look at the announce about the Porsche RSR and the arrival on the market. I think it was honestly really a gap of 6 or 7 years. And instead, no, this time they were quite in time, you know, 2024 to 2025, where the car didn't change. I think the really rules for the GT category will be since 2026 where they start to change something, but already if you look at cars coming from 2024 season to 2025 season, and I'm talking about the Porsche that I just made, the only visual difference that they have was just a minor front grille here on the main fenders, you know, and it's something that you can absolutely make it like an aftermarket detail, but the basics of the car and basic shape of the car always remain that one. It seems that since 2026, still not confirmed also because it depends really from the cost of these toys, it will be some improvements and some changing. We will see if it will be a huge improvement like it was from, I mentioned for example the car coming from the 2020 two season, coming from the 2017 season. I made the Honda NSX GT3, both the edition they made in 2017 and the edition they did made in 2022, and the car was quite different. So that remains honestly the basic part of the car, but all this part like the front end and the rear end were completely different and totally different in aerodynamics, so the conversion became much more huge. That's why I made the second kit of that NSX. They had a lot of requests at the time for the car. He said that now it's completely expired because that model is still racing and still winning. The car was absolutely a blast, and indeed now I can say it because it's out of production, so I don't have it any longer. It was made by my friends, so I could make that model. In my opinion, so nice. It was one of my finest because he had the great assistance from the guys at the company, some inner guys, you know, that they just give me the tip but don't tell other that we give you the tip. So it was really the company that really gave me a huge assistance during the build of the car, and that's why, the reason why, because I was their truck driver back in time, and they still remember of me. When I cross these guys in the race days or in the truck test, they still remember, you are Paolo, the guy that escaped to do your models, you was in motorsport, you decided to run away. Well, the answer is yes. I usually prefer to remain in my little world of where everything is a pleasure, you know, because to work in this sector, I did it. I can say, believe it or not, that I did it my part, and I think the apex of it was when I met Alex Zanardi. Wonder what he could do with these cars today, despite of being seated in a bed somewhere in Italy, forgotten, I suspect, by everybody, but not from me. I have his dedica. Paolo il modellista was extremely sweet, great guys. That's it, guys, go for it. For me, this is a fantastic model. If you like modern racer and modern GT, this is something that you absolutely cannot miss. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.